Alright, hey guys, welcome to the very first Unreal Engine 4 tutorial for this YouTube channel. We're going to do a lot of different stuffs over the time with Unreal Engine 4, but this first video is just going to be an introduction, kind of some of the things that changed from UDK, Unreal Engine 3, to Unreal Engine 4. It's going to be an overview kind of thing, and then I'll start making videos specifically with blueprints, lighting, things like that. So if you've watched, they actually have tutorials on Unreal Engine 4 already, made by the guys at Epic. If you watch one of the level construction ones, you'll make this room. So this is the scene I'm going to just work with since it's already made. It looks nice. But one of the main things you'll notice, at least with Unreal Engine 4, is the absence of the builder brush. The builder brush doesn't really exist anymore. Which at first threw me away, threw me off. In the beta, it existed, and then with this one, it doesn't exist anymore. So I was like, what's going on? But actually, the way they do it is way better. At least I think it's faster. So up here, we're under where all your modes are. So you have like geometry, lights, visual, and then you can have painting modes, landscape mode, foliage, and then your edit mode. Under geometry, this is where you'll actually create your shapes. So if you notice, you can't right click on them to like make a dimensional shape and then hit add or build or anything like that. And plus there's no builder brush anymore. All you really need to do now is just drag it in, and when you drag it in, you'll see the builder brush. It exists a little bit, but then after you drag it out, it creates an additive brush. Or if you highlight subtract up here and then draw out another box, it'll just drag one in for us. And it updates in real time, which is really nice. You don't have to keep constantly building. So you can just drag it, do whatever you want. Actually, let me keep that subtracted brush in there. And once you have a brush selected, you can actually adjust the shape over here on the right-hand side. This is where you can actually say, hey, instead of a box, let's make it, I don't know, a staircase. You can just draw it in. Or you can make it, like a circle, kind of chunked out of it. But we'll keep it with squares. And then from here, you can just adjust the shape however you want. And it updates in real time, which is super, super nice. Instead of you having to build geometry every time you add or subtract anything. So what else you can do? You can right click on the brush. Same thing you could do before, I believe. There should be kind of blanking out where it could be, but there should be where you can basically make it to you can make this brush be first or last. Try to remember where it is. It should be somewhere in here. Don't remember too well. But it doesn't really matter. But you can make it hollow. You can tessellate it if you wanted to. You could do a bunch of stuff like you could do in UDK. So that's all really nice. So that's how the brushes work. That's how BSP works. You can just drag out different shapes, making it additive. Change it to additive over here. You can do anything like that you want. Now the next thing that I noticed that was different is just basically the overall layout of this guy. Up here's your modes, but you can actually take each one and just make a new tab out of them and put them anywhere you want. They kind of lock in. Same thing goes with the content browser. You can actually make it a tab up here. The content browser, relatively the same thing. Just looks a little different, but the functionality is still there. You can right click and import. You can double click on everything to see what it is. The best part about Unreal Engine 4 that I think is these tabs you can have on top. It kind of makes it faster. And then you have the material editor still there. The only real difference is you're going from left to right, kind of like Kismet, instead of going from right to left. We'll go more into the material editor in some other future video. It's not really needed to go over right now. But one of the bigger changes with Unreal Engine 4 in terms of what we'll be going over is blueprints. If you look up here, that's where you'll see blueprints. And if you click on it, you can do open level blueprint. Right now there is already a blueprint because when you play in the game, when you watch that tutorial, they allow you to create a sliding door. Whoops. I am just spawning out of nowhere. Alright. Not too sure why it keeps spawning me outside the map, but you should be able to play from here. Here we go. And then if you walk up to the door opens, and then it closes. Easy scripting. That's all it really is. They show you how to do it using the timeline instead of using Matinee. You know, it's a little different, but Matinee still exists. It's not like it's not there anymore. Some of the newer things you'll see trigger boxes instead of just actual trigger actors. Looks the same, but you can actually, you know, it's actually a box now, which is nice. Lighting is one of the major differences. Before we go into lights, you know, you can go into here, add lights from there. So let's throw in a point light. If you look at the lighting, the intensity, 5000 is one of the lower settings. You know, before where 1 was the default setting. And then you can increase the brightness from there. And if you look under mobility, right there, right now by default stationary. It lets you know what these do. Basically, a static light is a fully baked light map, and it can't, you know, do any dynamic lighting or anything. Whereas stationary is similar to static light, except it does do dynamic lighting. And the last setting you have is movable. With movable, it allows you to animate it. You can actually, oops, I was doing the wrong thing. Let me go back to static. With the light here, if you make this movable, you can actually animate it. I believe, well, I know for sure with movable you can change the light color in Matinee and blueprints and things like that. I think you could turn it off and on as well. Not too sure about stationary. You may be able to, but I know movable for sure you can change the light color. But you know, you can change the light color with any of those kind of lights, movable, static, or stationary, no matter what, in its properties. So you can make these lights any color you want. You can do effects world, so it doesn't even do anything. And you can turn off the fact if it casts shadows or not, which is nice. And then light profile, that's basically, if you remember what light functions, same thing. Light profiles are the same exact thing, and you can tell how intense you want that to be. Same thing goes with light function. They're both there. Two different things. They work similar in terms of what they do, but with light profiles, it's different. You gotta look more into light profiles to really know the real differences. But with light functions, it works the same exact way as the UDK. You can have caustic lighting effects. You can have material functions like flickering on those. Basically all the same way. And then you can actually make blueprints from the light actors themselves. And then placing static meshes, same exact thing in UDK as it is in Unreal Engine 4. Not much different. You can just go into your content browser, go to meshes, or props, I should say. That's where you'll find most of these meshes. Sorry. So if you grab a mesh, you can just right-click anywhere, place an actor there, and it's like boom, in your face, Unreal Engine 4. And you can scale it. But one of the cool things about scaling now, if you remember in Unreal Engine 3 or UDK, when you scaled it, with the spacebar at least, you went from like the moving widget to the rotation widget, and then the scaling widget was just all uniform scaling. You had to click manually to get to the non-uniform scaling, whereas with this you'll get the non-uniform scaling, but if you want to scale everything together, you can just click on the white cube in the center here, but then you can just drag on each axis how you want it to non-uniform scale, things like that. Which is super nice. Definitely something I enjoy. And you'll notice things like this actor right here. This is your reflection actor. It doesn't really update in that much of a real time, but it actually allows you to get reflections. You can actually get reflections in real time with materials. You see on the marble floor, its material allows you, well, it doesn't allow you, it just allows for reflection. So if you go into content browser and materials, I believe the one we chose for that one in that tutorial, the marble rock. If you look under roughness, it's at 0. That allows for the reflection. If you can see in the material there, you'll see like a world kind of map being reflected. But you don't really get to see much right now, only because the lighting isn't baked at all. So let me go ahead and before we actually bake lighting in this, temporary scene, what you'll notice as well, we have, light mask importance volume still exists, post-processing volume still exists. All these volumes can be found under the recently placed tab, depending on when you place them, or if you go down to volumes, we can drag in a blocking volume, and then from there change the shape like a builder brush. But yeah, same thing goes with light mask importance volume. Go, there's your light mask, and then same goes for post-processing down here. And then from there, post-processing has a bunch of things you can affect, like the film tint, things like that. So if you want to make the scene more saturated or desaturated, however you want, really. And then contrast, you can make it really dark and contrasty. Tint shadows you can change. So if you want to make the tint shadows like a different color, make it blue if you want. It makes a very minor difference, you can't really tell. So there you go. See, there's the tint shadow. So since it's a bright sunny day, we want the tint shadow to be some sort of orange. Things like that. Scene color, all that. Bloom does the same exact thing as you would think. Bloom's pretty crazy. But yeah, there's way more in post-processing volumes than there was in the original UDK or Unreal Engine 3. But just to get light bouncing and everything, you still need the light mask importance volume. And actually, if you go see right here, this is basically your settings menu. This tells you a detailed setting, so whatever object you have selected at the time, you can see the setting. But then you can go under your world settings; those are always available to you. That's where you can change, the light mask settings, change the environment color, the number of bounces, direct illumination, use ambient occlusion, things like that. But with this new object added, let's just go ahead and build lighting real quick. It does still use Swarm, that still exists, but the lighting is way, way better in terms of the calculations. It looks way better. You'll see once this bakes, we'll see how this looks overall. It doesn't take too long. It takes about the same amount of time, which is nice, especially based on how much crazy stuff goes on with this new engine, with all the real-time lighting and everything, all the crazy particle effects you're going to have, things of that nature. But the cool thing about it too is when you're building lighting, you can actually still move around, which I think is really nice. So even if you're building lighting, you can do whatever you want. It may affect your lighting build if you actually move objects around or anything like that. So I don't recommend you really do that. But just to show where some things are, the real-time capture, I believe it would be under visual, I think. Yeah, under visual, that's where you can add your atmospheric fog, post-processing volumes, exponential height fogs, box reflections, deferred decals, things like that. Basic is what you would basically need to get your game kind of started. So, your camera, a player start, a box trigger, things like that. But there we go. There's our lighting build. So game mode. You can see the reflection actors picking up on these light meshes right here. Got a nice bloom going. It's overall really pretty looking atmosphere. The tutorial, you can go under Unreal Engine's channel. They'll show you how to build this level, set up the sliding door trigger, things like that. And basically, level building's the same exact thing. Bring out meshes, you can scale them, rotate them, everything's the same with that. It's just overall a different look and feel. One thing you'll need to know with Matinee in particular, I'm not too sure if it's different from the beta, but usually when you add a Matinee, you'll get a Matinee actor in the scene. So right now, this is what you'll get, like a nice little like action kind of thing. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of like if you remember material instance actors, you'll have those, you'll reference an object or objects, and you would place it near that object. So that's what you would do for this door if you wanted to animate through Matinee, I should say. Just put it into the door, and then Matinee works exactly the same. The only real difference is how you implement it in blueprints. Right now, you'll see this is just the door opening script they'll show you in that tutorial. But I wonder if you still, yeah, if you hold down M, you'll get multi-gate. It's kind of different. You get you don't get Matinee right off the bat. You would need to basically call Matinee when you have the actor in there. So let me Control Z a bit. There's our Matinee. Now, if you right-click, you can add an event-free Matinee actor. So you could do collision, add on, you can overlap for that actor, things like that. Or you can just reference the Matinee animation in a few different ways. So you could do, add reference to it. So here's your Matinee actor, things like that. But overall, there's a lot in blueprints now. So if you right-click, you can go to your search function. You do a bunch of things for your Matinee. So we can add an event for it. You can play it. So if there was a Matinee actor for it, or at least an animation for it, you basically can tell it to play from here. You would just have your event, things like that. But we'll go over Matinee and everything. We'll actually do some simple setups in a later tutorial. Like I said, this is just an overview of everything. One thing with blueprints, you can have level blueprints, which is like how it was for Kismet, but then you can actually make actor classes. So I believe they actually give you some examples in your content browser. If you go to blueprints, they actually give you one for your blueprint ceiling light. So let me remove Matinee. So if you right-click and add that blueprint, the blueprint actually comes with a light attached to it. The light itself is a movable light, and if you go to details, you can actually adjust the brightness, adjust the color, source radius. You can actually, turn on and off things. Overall, it's nice. Basically, once you create it once, all you have to do is really duplicate it, and you can have as many of these in your scene as you want, which is super nice. So you can actually, go into the blueprint itself. So, your construction script is your main event for any time you want to go ahead and make some sort of blueprint. And then you can just have your point light, have a variable for brightness. You can have a variable for color, radius. This is basically everything you need. Then I believe if you go under components, that's where you'll actually be able to set up if it's an actor kind of thing. So right now, you can add a component. You can add a skylight, point light, spotlight, directional light, anything you want. You can add static mesh. And then from here, under static mesh, you can select your mesh. Bunch of crazy stuff. We don't want to do that. We don't want to change anything really. We'll go over more of that in the future. We'll actually set up a point light kind of construction script or a class blueprint. That's so class blueprints can be moved from level to level, whereas before, if you remember, if you made a Kismet script in one level, you would need to kind of copy and paste it, change some variables around in order for it to get to work. Whereas this, you can just keep it in the content browser and just drag it in, no matter where it is, and then copy and paste it from there, which is really nice. So we can just throw more, fire blueprints. Has a couple things in there. Has audio, has light, it has the actual particle, things like that. It's really nice. But overall, this is Unreal Engine 4. We're going to get into more specifics at a later time. I'll probably go over an overview of lighting, some more overview of post-processing once I get everything set up. I've been a little bit busy, that's why I wasn't able to make anything great for right now. More just an overview. But the next tutorial will be about, creating a nice looking scene from scratch. We'll do lighting, we'll do post-processing, reflections, things of that nature, just to get your feet wet, and then we'll start going into different things you can do with blueprints, things like that. Like I said, this is just an overall just a start overview kind of thing. So I'm glad you watched this video. If you want anything specific with Unreal Engine 4 that you want me to go over, let me know. And then from there, I'll make tutorials on it just depending on what it is. So, thanks for watching, guys. I look forward to doing more of these tutorials. This is going to be a lot of fun. Glad to see, Unreal Engine was available for everybody. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.